The wind carried dust like old memories as Eli Carter rode beneath the bruised dawn. His coat was faded, his hat low, and his eyes, those gray, quiet eyes, held a weight that no man should have to bear. The kind that came from burying a wife and a son under the same stretch of hard prairie earth. The kind that taught a man to keep his silence and never expect kindness from the world again. He wasn't looking for redemption when he rode toward Hollow Creek Barn that morning. Just a horse. That's all he thought he needed. But the world has a way of offering more than you bargain for. Sometimes mercy, sometimes horror. When he dismounted, the place looked half abandoned. The boards were rotted, the air thick with a scent of hay and mold and something darker, something that didn't belong. He stepped inside, boots crunching softly on straw. The light slanted through cracks in the boards, painting the air with stripes of gold and shadow. Then he heard it, a sound too soft to belong to an animal. A breath. A small, trembling sound, like someone trying not to exist. Eli stopped. The wind outside groaned through the barn's rafters. Then came the sound again, a faint scraping, metal against wood. He followed it past the empty stalls until he saw her. A woman. She was slumped against the wall, wrists chained to a post. Her face bruised, hair tangled with dirt and straw. Her dress was torn, her skin pale beneath the grime. But her eyes, those eyes were alive. Fierce. Afraid but defiant. For a long second, Eli didn't breathe. He'd seen cruelty before, war, hunger, the kind men do to each other when they stop believing in heaven. But this was different. This was personal. She flinched as his shadow fell over her. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said quietly. His voice was low, rough like the desert wind. She didn't answer, only turned her face away. A single tear cut through the dirt on her cheek. Before he could speak again, footsteps sounded behind him. A voice followed, smooth, lazy, with a sour stench of whiskey in it. "Looking for a horse, Carter?" Eli turned. Jeb Rollins stood in the doorway, a grin sliding across his face. The kind of grin that said he'd never been told no, and didn't expect to start now. "Got the best stock in town," Jeb went on, swaggering closer. "Don't mind the mess. Had some trouble with a thief lately." Eli's eyes flicked back toward the chained woman. Jeb saw it, and his grin turned thin. "She's the thief," he said. "Tried stealing my money, my horses. I aim to teach her what happens to thieves out here." Eli stared at him for a long, cold moment. "She don't look like no thief." Jeb's smile faltered. "You buying a horse, or looking to preach?" Eli didn't answer. His hand brushed near the revolver on his hip. Jeb's eyes narrowed. Then he laughed, spat to the ground, and walked off, muttering something about minding one's business. The silence that followed felt like a wound. Eli turned back to the woman. He knelt beside her, poured water from his canteen into her trembling hands. She drank, slow and careful, eyes never leaving his. "What's your name?" he asked. "Mara," she whispered, voice broken and dry. "I'll come back," he said softly. "When it's dark." For a moment, her expression flickered. Fear, hope, disbelief, all tangled together. Then she nodded, once. Eli left before the sun set, but her eyes stayed with him long after. Back in town, the saloon was loud with gossip and smoke. He heard men laughing about Jeb Rollins, about how he kept his women in line. The sheriff looked the other way. Nobody cared. Eli sat there in silence, whiskey untouched, staring into the amber light until he saw her face reflected in it. By dusk, he'd made his decision. Not because he wanted to be a hero. He didn't believe in heroes anymore. But because a man's silence sometimes is the same as sin. He rode out under the rising moon, the sound of his horses' hooves steady as prayer. The wind was cold, carrying the scent of rain and something electric, like change. The barn loomed ahead, black against the starlight. He moved quiet, steady, and found her there, shivering in the dark. When she saw him, her breath caught. He said nothing, just lifted his axe. The sound of the metal striking the chain echoed like thunder. Once, twice. Sparks flew. Her eyes widened, the light from his lantern dancing in them like a memory of hope. On the third swing, the lock broke. but the crash of metal drew Jeb from his house. The door slammed open, light spilling across the dirt. He was holding a revolver, his smile gone. "Well, look at this," he snarled. "You just bought yourself a heap of trouble, Carter." Eli didn't move. "Walk away, Rollins." "Not a chance." Jeb fired. The bullet grazed Eli's arm, sending a bloom of blood down his sleeve. The lantern fell, shattering into the hay. Fire leapt up like a living thing, roaring to life in seconds. Mara screamed as the flames climbed higher, smoke filling the air. Eli lunged, tackling Jeb to the ground. They rolled through the dirt, fists and smoke and fury mixing together. Eli's wound burned. Jeb's laughter turned to snarling curses. Then the revolver slid free, landing near Mara's feet. She stared at it, trembling, the firelight flickering across her face. Then she picked it up. Her hands were shaking so badly she could hardly aim. But she did. The gun went off. The sound cut through the crackle of flames, sharp and final. Jeb Rollins fell still. For a long moment, everything stopped, the fire, the wind. Even the world itself seemed to hold its breath. Then Eli pulled Mara to her feet, leading her out through the collapsing doorway. Behind them, the barn burned to the ground, the sky turning red and gold. Ash rained down like snow, coating their skin, their hair, their pain. They didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. By the time the sheriff and townsfolk arrived, there was only smoke and ruin. No one asked too many questions. Some said Jeb got what he deserved. Others whispered. But Eli didn't care for whispers. He cared only that Mara was free, standing beside him, eyes lifted to the dawn for the first time in years. They left that place together, two scarred souls walking into whatever tomorrow might bring. The world behind them burned, but the world ahead was quiet, and that was enough. Days later, they reached the river valley, where the grass grew wild and green. Eli helped her down from the horse. She stood there, barefoot in the dew, the sunrise painting her face gold. "I ain't afraid no more," she said softly. Eli watched her for a long time, the corners of his mouth twitching into something almost like a smile. "Then we'll do fine," he said. They made camp near the river. The night wrapped around them gentle and alive. Crickets sang. The fire crackled. She rested her head against his shoulder, not out of love, not yet, but out of something deeper. Trust. The kind that's built in the ashes of pain, one heartbeat at a time. Maybe redemption ain't about right or wrong. Maybe it's just about showing up when the world needs you to, even if it doesn't thank you for it. Maybe it's about quiet choices, the kind that no one writes songs about, but that change everything just the same. A man can walk into a barn looking for a horse and come out with a reason to keep living. A woman can rise from chains and learn how to breathe again beneath a sunrise that belongs to her. And maybe that's all we're really chasing out here in the Wild West. Freedom, not from the land or its laws, but from the ghosts that ride with us. If you've ever felt small or broken or too far gone, remember this. Sometimes the fire that was meant to destroy you is the same one that sets you free. Like, share, and tell us where you're watching from. Hit that bell, leave a comment below, and join us next time on Frontier Myths, where every scar has a story worth telling.